Let's judge some books by their covers, shall we? Hello fellow mushroom people and welcome to today's video. So please don't mind me going through my hair all the time because it's getting too long and I need a haircut, but my hairdresser is on vacation so I can't get one till next week, which is harsh, but I'll make it. So today I want to be a shallow bitch. I want to look at some covers and tell you what I like or what I don't like about them. And there's a twist. So I want to look at the UK or US version of the cover, and then I want to look at the German version. So I've picked out some books that have an English and a German release, so I want to compare them. And if you've been on this channel before, you know that I like pretty covers and that I buy books based on covers. So I'm one of those people where marketing works. I will pick up anything that looks good. So, let me just say that I don't have an art degree. I don't have a degree in graphic design or anything fancy like that. I'm just a person who looks at pictures and thinks they're pretty or not. So, with that out of the way, let's start with a classic. A modern classic. So, The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson, the first one in the Stormlight archive. So, I own the US version of this book, so that's the one I want to talk about. For me, this cover is really gorgeous. So, it has these old fantasy cover vibes. Even though Brandon Sanderson's name and the title of the book are taking up the top half of the cover, I honestly don't really mind. I mean, it's just an empty sky, but the drawing's so pretty. The colors are so vibrant. Let me just take that over here so I don't look over there all the time. So the covers are really, the colors are really great. I really like the way the person in the foreground is holding the sword and there's someone else in the background further away. I also like that the environment reflects the Shattered Plains where most of the book is taking place, because that's such a unique place and I really like that. There's also those weird plants in the bottom right corner. So I always get the feeling that Rosha, the world the Stormlight Archive takes place in, isn't really like our Earth. So I really like that those flowers don't look like anything that we have on our planet. They're kind of out of spacey, and I really like that. So I really like the cover. So yeah, nothing else to say. For the German cover, so the German cover, it's kind of similar. So you have this cliffy, chasmy environment, and you have a person which is honestly much smaller. There's also waterfalls, I guess, which doesn't really make sense. I mean, maybe if you count the high storms and that there's flooding, but so in this cover, all the color seems to have drained. It's just so bleak and colorless. And even though it also gives me this high fantasy vibe, it's not that enjoyable because the other one, to me, it looks more interesting because of how unique the character looks and those plants and all the everything that's on the picture. So this one's and we also get like a tribal tattoo behind Brandon Sanderson's name, which is, I don't know, it's kind of why, I don't know why they did that. Also, I mean, that's kind of nitpicky, but the font is just this standard fantasy novel font for German fantasy literature. That's the feeling I get from that. So, I mean, the US version doesn't have a fancy font as well, but the German one just, no, it doesn't speak to me. that much. So if I had to choose a cover, I would go for the US version because I like that one way better. So the next book I want to talk about is one that I haven't read, but I've seen the cover for this book and I need to talk about it. So that one is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. So the English version, there's two covers. One is probably the UK version and the other is the US version. I don't really know which one is which. I think the black one's the US version and the blue one is the UK version, I guess. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I think both of them have this kind of easygoing basic design, which is very appealing and easy to look at. I think I prefer the blue one a little bit more because there's a little bit more going on. But I think the star sign zodiac thingy, that's important for the story, I guess. But even though I still prefer the blue one from those two. But so even though those covers are not phenomenal to me, they still have a nice vibe. So I don't mind looking at them. They're quite basic, but it's not like, oh, it's boring. There's still something going on and it still looks interesting. So for the German version, well, so the German version has this kind of crystal ball with this thing underneath, and there's a person in the crystal ball, and I swear to God, this person looks like the most basic Roby fantasy figure I've ever seen. And like I said, I haven't read the book. I don't know if there's a basic Roby fantasy person in the book. Oh, but it's so boring. And also the title, the way the title's on the cover. So we got Das unsichtbare Leben above the crystal ball, and then der Addie LaRue inside the ball, a little bit tilted. And I think design-wise, it's not good. I don't like looking at that. It's just, it feels wrong. I don't know why, but I think if the whole title had been on the crystal ball or above it, I wouldn't have minded, but it's so split in half, and that makes the whole cover unfocused. It also looks a little bit like a very, not like a poor Photoshop job, but I don't like the way it's designed. It's just not pretty. I don't like the way they made the cover, and like I said, even though the English covers are not that superb, and I'm not like, oh, I need to have this on my shelf, I think they are much easier to look at because they don't make me feel sick inside. And I'm sorry to whoever made the German cover. I'm sure you're a great artist, maybe, but I wouldn't want this on my shelf. Sorry. So the next one is The Bear and the Nightingale by Katherine Arden. For that one I have I think it's the UK version, which is the one that I own, and I really like the cover. It's another quite simple cover, but it's very fitting because you have the snowy ground and the sky with the stars, and it's dark and it's wintry, and there's also this small bird in the foreground and the village in the background, which is very important to the story. And since it also takes place in Russia in the Middle Ages, I forgot, but in past Russia. So I think it kind of captures this vibe, and I really like it. It's a very pretty cover. So the German cover, I like this one. So I think I might like this one even better than the UK version. So you have the you can't really see the snow. There's a little bit on the upper half. But there's the bear and I assume it's the nightingale, the little birds over there. And I think it really captures this Russian vibe with the kind of the graphics that are around the title. And I think the colors are even prettier and more vibrant than on the UK version. And I I would love to have this cover on my shelf. I would prefer this one because I really think it's beautiful. And whoever did this did a really good job. And so while I was doing research for this video, I was like, I can't just bash all the German covers. I have to find one that looks good. Because in my opinion, most German fantasy book covers, they don't do it for me. They are, no, not pretty. Most of them are quite hideous actually. And yeah, but this one's very good. I really like this one. So the next book that I have is one that I enjoyed. I really like the world building. I wish there would have been more world building because I like world building. And that one is Senlin by Josiah Bancroft. And for the English version, we have this guy who's trapped in this tower and the design looks really, really good. You can see that this tower is not just like a regular tower that we have in our world, but you can really see that it's huge. And I mean, there's towers on top of the tower, so you can really grasp the size and the scale of the whole thing. And yeah, then you have the man inside is very stylized. He is not that huge, but he's struggling against the tower. Maybe that's what the picture is conveying. Like I said, I'm no art professor, so but that's kind of the feeling that I get from that. And with the mountains in the background, you can really see that this tower is not a small tower, but a very big one. So the German version is just called Inside the Tower. And so the first novel got a translation and then they didn't go on. I guess it didn't sell that well, so we only have this one. And it's kind of weird to me because on the top, you also have those kind of mini towers on the tower. And there's also some hats, which look interesting. I think they're interesting design elements. But the further down you go, the weirder the size gets, because those are some huge windows down there, so the proportions are kind of weird, if you get what I mean. So we have huge windows on the bottom, and then there's towers with tiny windows on the top, and it doesn't really fit. So from the part that we see, the tower seems much smaller than on the English cover, and since the tower in the book is huge, that doesn't really fit the narrative, which I find kind of... I don't really understand it, because at the top they have this design element which shows that the tower is really, really big, but I don't know why they did it this way. It's also very red. Yeah, but that was a decision. I don't mind the cover. I think the design of the tower overall, it's quite well done, and I like how they did it, because the tower, even though the proportions are weird, it's still quite cool. So I think I would be interested in this book if I saw this cover, but I like the English one better. So the last one that I picked out is a YA novel, and that one's Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. So when I was 14, those novels were huge, and many people from my school were reading them. Mostly girls, I guess, but I never read those books, but I certainly saw the movies, and I think I even went to the cinema for one. I think it was the last one, I guess. Yeah, so I still have some memories of this book. So the cover, the English version, I have to say I really like the cover. I think it's very memorable. I don't really remember if there's a scene with an apple in the book or the movie, so I don't know if this resembles the book in any way. But I like the plain black background and those hands in the foreground with the apple. which gives the whole cover some color. So I think it's really well done. I think it's interesting to look at. So there's something going on. You don't really know what it's about, but from this cover, I think I might want to find out. So I think it's a well done cover. So I have two German covers that I want to talk about. First off is the old one, the original one that was the cover when I was younger, when the book was first published in Germany. And so the German title for those books, they are called the Bis series, and the first book is called Bis zum Morgengrauen, which means till twilight, till dawn, something like that. It's a bit of play on words because bis can mean until, and if you put a second S at the end, it also means bite. So you see it's like until, but it's also the biting part because vampires and yeah, puns, right? So from this cover, I don't really get vampires. I'm honest with you. So this one screams Renaissance lady. And there's no Renaissance in this book. I mean, it's a modern day story, which is so weird because why did they choose the picture of this part of a woman and just put her in this kind of outfit, which I don't think it resembles the story well. I don't know if the apple resembles the story well, but at least it's interesting to look at. This one looks more like a historical fiction than a teen vampire romance, and I don't know why they did that. So the newer version is a bit more streamlined, so it's a bit more basic. So you get a white background with some ornaments, and then you have the title and some red, which I think resembles the story way better because you also got this blood drop falling down from somewhere. And even though I still don't think those are the best covers ever made, I think this one's way better than the first one, which is kind of greenish. I mean, why is it green? It's just such a weird choice. I can't really get over it. So I really like, I mean, I don't really like this cover, but I think this one's better. And just the way that they designed the cover, it's more recognizable, I think, because if you put the other cover in a room full of historical fiction books and you take the title away, I think it would be hard to find the Twilight book from among those. So this one's an improvement, but I still think that the English cover is quite iconic, actually. So even though I'm not a Twilight fan at all, I would recognize this cover anywhere because it's quite unique. And I think that's what I like about it. And that's all the books I want to talk about today. So leave a comment and tell me if you like this kind of cover comparison, because I think it's fun. And I mean, covers are the first thing we see from a book, and if we don't know anything about it, we just get what's on the cover. And I'm a person who picks up books that look pretty, and it's a great way to sell books, at least to me. And that's why I think all the books should look pretty. So yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about today. So see you again next time.